Taking the lead, the Yankees released Adam Lind from his minor league deal today. Once they signed Neil Walker, there didn't figure to be much of a spot for Lind on the Yanks, who, let's not forget though, hit over 300 for the Nats last season. So I decided to get involved on Twitter, asking Mets Twitter specifically whether they'd rather have Adam Lind or Adrian Gonzalez. I got a fairly resounding answer that supports the former. 64%
That's so weird.
of Mets fans think that Adam Lind would be a better option than their current first base option, Adrian Gonzalez.
Grass is always green.
So let's get to the actual potential facts of this matter. Anthony, what have you heard in terms of the Mets' interest in this guy, Adam Lind?
Well, Doug, I did check in on this, and I got a firm maybe from someone about the possibility of the Mets bringing this guy into camp. Now,
can a maybe be firm? Yeah,
that's in a whole.
It was a firm
it's
maybe.
Right, yes, it's
maybe,
right down. It's
right.
No, it's right down the middle here because it wasn't a no, which is why we can talk about it here. But it also was not a he's coming in next. We're going to bring him in the next few days. But I think it would be a good move to bring him into camp because he does. I mean, he mashes righties, and had a terrific year last year. A part-time player for the Nationals, so let's not get wound up that he's the first baseman of the present and future or anything like that. He would be a platoon option, but he'd be a pretty good platoon option. And bringing him into camp to compete with Egon might not be a bad idea. I mean, I like.
Yeah, but if he wanted to be released by the Yankees, and I assume he had an opt-out coming, I assume he was involved in this decision to release.
Well, but his opt-out wasn't until March 22nd.
Well, I understand that, but why would he want to come to the Mets? I assume there's another minor league deal out there for him with the potential for more at-bats. The Yankees didn't have a lot of at-bats for him. As far as the Mets go, they're committed, and I checked it on this. They're committed to Adrian Gonzalez. He's a veteran guy. They like the at-bats that they're seeing from him. If he's struggling, and this is what I heard, if he's struggling around May 1st, then we're going to have a conversation about is he someone who can still give you much. But spring training stats are spring training stats. Adrian Gonzalez is playing for the minimum, and there's a chance he can be a 30-home run guy for you. So that's just a no-brainer. That Twitter poll makes absolutely no sense to me, those results.
Well, so there's two sides of the conversation. Whether Adam Lind would accept a deal to the Mets is one thing, but if you look at what Brian Cashman just did with the Yankees, right? He had Brandon Drury, he had Andujar, he had Torres, and he still went out there and he got Neil Walker. The Yankees do that consistently.
He needed a second baseman.
Well, not necessarily.
Yes, he did. Brian Cashman didn't have anyone in camp who was good enough to be
Here's what I'm saying. You point this out on Twitter. The Yankees are so good at giving those minor league deals and taking those flyers on players.
But that was a fit. Adam Lind in the Mets is not a fit.
I would argue it didn't necessarily fill a role to bring Neil Walker, a hole to bring Neil Walker.
What do you mean? They had a hole at second base. Gleyber Torres wasn't ready. I know. I mean,
Tyler Wade could be there.
Tyler Wade is
at second base.
Aaron Boone still thinks that Tyler Wade's going to start at second base, but we're going in a totally different direction.
That's crazy. No, Brian Cashman had a need for a second baseman because he's got a team that wants to win the World Series. Neil Walker's a proven veteran second baseman you can plug in. The Mets have 9,000 first basemen on the roster right now.
But we're going to have
Jay Bruce is going to end up probably being a first baseman.
They don't have 9,000 first basemen on the roster. They have
Flores, Jay Bruce.
Those guys aren't first basemen.
They are guys who can play that position. The depth at that position is so deep that it's one of the last places the Mets need to go. And again, you've got Adrian Gonzalez for the minimum, who might still be Adrian Gonzalez on some level.
Well, we're not talking about Adam Lind costing them $10 million a year either. I mean, he's a guy who was on.
It costs him more than the minimum if he's on the major league roster.
But not much more than the minimum. He was supposed to get he was supposed to get $2 million on his Yankee contract. Why wouldn't that be something similar?
$2 million is a lot different from 500, 600,000.
In the baseball world, it is, where teams have $150 million payrolls. It's that big of a deal. This guy had a tremendous year last year. Examine their 2 years together, him and Egon versus him and Egon last year. There's some questions about Gonzalez and his health and potential going forward with that. I mean, Lind, he'd be a nice platoon. Let Wilmer Flores rake against left-handers and get Lind in there to play against the
They have Adrian Gonzalez.
But this guy's better.
This is insane. People on Twitter are insane. You're insane. You're insane. I'm right.
What you're saying is
Egon that we're dealing with.
He got the firm
question mark.
We don't know yet that that's not who it is. What? You want to speak?
He got the firm maybe from Mets people that they would go out and get Adam Lind. You got if he's struggling by May 1st. To put those things together, they have no confidence in Adrian Gonzalez.
No. That's not what I heard. They are not troubled by what they've seen from Adrian Gonzalez. They think that he's a veteran who's rounding his way into hitting shape and doing his work. They think the at-bats are fine. They're not seeing him get beat by fastballs or any of the things that would indicate a shot player. Now, they're not saying he's going to go out there and hit 30 home runs for us, but it is way too soon to rule that out, and there's way too much upside on that player.
Yeah, but Lind is more inventory. That's why it's a no-brainer remove to get him in.
They have so much first base inventory.
Well, but I mean, this guy could be a guy who could beat out Adrian Gonzalez. I mean, look at 2009 Adam Lind, peak Adam Lind, when 35 homers. He had a monster year for the Blue Jays that year. It's something to explore. This is the kind of thing that the Mets should be doing on a regular basis, to me, is bringing in guys who can compete for, there's no lock on first base for Adrian Gonzalez or for one half of first base for him. So why not bring a guy like this in if he's looking for a job? He may get snapped up elsewhere. I mean, he was on a pretty good team last year with the Nationals.
How do you bring him in without releasing Adrian Gonzalez, though? I mean, that's just...
Why? It's spring training. What's the difference?
Well, I don't understand how you agree to get him to come in if you don't release
That's why I said there are two sides to the screen.
But he just agreed to a minor league...
Right, in every imaginable way.
But he just agreed to a minor league deal with the Yankees. He needs a job. This crazy winter has affected this guy in such a way that he hit over 300, 850-something OPS last year, and he had to accept a minor league deal. So we're not operating in the same universe that we normally are.